The Bounty Hunters. Hey, we've received a message from the EFL Tiger. They're requesting assistance in pacifying the criminal elements of a frontier world by the name of Vusa 5. Apparently, they've taken over the main criminal gang on the world and are vying for a complete domination of the whole place. There are several big gangs, serial killers, and rumors of monsters, Scaly says from his spot next to Airfarce, and the men consider as J3 and Tang adjust their sights. Something to consider if for nothing else than a favor in that neighborhood. Are they offering anything? Bike notes as he adjusts the radar scanners of the nearby area. The Nagasha kid was doing a lot better now that he was getting out and doing things. Still way too nervous around crowds to go to a hospital for proper healing, but much better. Well enough at least to join them on this friendly little bit of sport and even monitor incoming messages to make him feel useful. Their current hunt may not be as intelligent as their normal targets, but it doesn't get cocky or make anywhere near as many mistakes. There's something to be said for the cunning of beasts. Hang on. Yeah, it looks like they're offering a full reimbursement of expenses and reasonable salvage rights, the group's adopted son says with a bit of confusion. So they pay for everything and let us take anything that isn't crucial, Pukey remarks as he brings down his binoculars. Sounds all right to me. What about you gents? We're crawling with work here in distant space. It might do us well to work with some people with actual training rather than rent-a-cops that bribed, begged, or blackmailed their way into their jobs. The hat remarks as he looks out, his new alien dinosaur-scale cowboy hat outright glinting in the sun. I think I see something, west by northwest, in the bushes. If it is a Carnex, it's a juvenile, too small otherwise. Bike remarks as he consults the radar like technology he's field testing and fiddling with. Can't we just call them Rexes? They're basically the same, just with funky scales and spikes on the tail, Mr. T remarks as he continues his own visual scan and refuses the temptation of looking at whatever the hat has spotted. Not sure it makes a difference beyond the bounty being for culling Carnexes and not Rexes, J3 mentions glibly. To be honest, I didn't expect to get work like this. You'd think some big game enthusiasts would be all over the chance to indulge their power fantasies and get paid for it. You're still thinking like a human J3, Scaly remarks. Carnexes are a nasty laser-immune and plasma-resistant breed, and the nearest races with a serious hunting instinct are cold worlders. They can't stand the heat. Well, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the jungle, Mustard remarks. Oh, hey, north by northwest, not far from the hat's bushes. Something scared off a flock of day bats. It's a big one. We may have a Carnex, Bike says after readjusting his radar. Lining up a shot, Tang says, shifting himself and his oversized hunting rifle. The weapons he and J3 were packing were the bastard children of anti-tank rifles and elephant guns that turned to steroids and were serious death metal fans. The sheer size of the things meant they were a probable threat to battleships. The biggest downside to the monsters was that each massive piece of ammunition required handcrafting, as they had yet to hook up a machine to make it for them. But it also meant that they'd indulged themselves and had little engravings on the side. This wouldn't help for accuracy, but it made each shot feel special. Also, the sheer bulk of the things, it was like hoisting around a cannon with half the weight dedicated to everything needed to handle the insane recoil without killing the man firing the gun. They had taken inspiration from how tank shells were crafted. They were calling them pop guns because why not? Tang's currently loaded bullet read ouch on the side, and J3 had lost a bet, so he was firing the compensating. Smaller beasties are running scared. This may be it. Dong says, training his binoculars to the area. The beast that steps out of cover is over 10 stories tall, covered in refractive, shiny scales, and has teeth more comparable to a sword's out of a fantasy setting. Yeah, that's a Carnex. Full-grown, too, Mustard remarks as J3 repositions himself to line up his own shot. I have a shot, Tang remarks. As have I, J3 says a heartbeat later. Tang was in position first. He gets the first shot. Ear protection, everyone. Pukey orders, and there's a brief flurry of movement as everyone slips their earmuffs on, and then there's a moment of stillness. Then a blast so loud that it's like a punch to the chest and head. Everyone winces despite the protection, and the Carnex roars in hate and pain. It's still alive? Scaly exclaims in shock and horror as Tang quickly ejects the casing and slots in another massive bullet, this one with Mommy written on the side. A second concussively loud shot slams through the air, and then there's stillness. Kill confirmed, target is dead, Dong says after a few moments, and everyone removes their earmuffs. It took 2 of those monsters? Those bullets are the size of my fist, Scaly exclaims. Yep, the scales were tougher than advertised. First shot shattered the armor, second got gooey parts underneath. Smart move going for center mass, boys. Pukey remarks as if he were judging a skeet shoot and not a 1-2 death punch to a monster that could show up in a Godzilla movie. I just didn't want to miss a target that big. You guys would never let me forget it, Tang says in a mildly scandalized tone. Yeah, that and the way the armor broke formed an almost perfect circle with a ring in it. How could I not go for the bullseye? J3 asks with a chuckle. Glad I could help. Tang remarks with a grin. Okay, everyone. If this is one of the 2 man-eaters we're after, then we're doing well. We need to check the head, though. One of the 2 had its left eye burned out with plasma, and the other has some mild discoloration around the head due to people trying to defend themselves, Scaly says as he reads out the report. Brace yourselves. We're swooping under the canopy for a closer look. Air Force warns them all, and there's a quick bit of activity as the 2 massive pop guns are locked into place and more reasonable rifles drawn out. We're ready, Pukey says after a few moments, and the entire mobile hunting platform lowers into a gap in the canopy and then drifts towards the kill they've made. God damn, it's even bigger up close, Bike exclaims in surprise as they veer up to it. Why would something this big eat a person? It's like me trying to eat a mouse. Too much trouble for too little meat, Scaly asks in utter bafflement. If there were a lot of people close together, then a big bite would do it. After that, if it develops a taste for it, then it's just a vicious beast. Air Force answers the kid and lowers the platform all the way to the ground. All right, check the head and get your cutters out. We need proof of the kill, Pukey says as he hops off the platform and onto the jungle floor. I'm so glad we've got a rig to strap up this horror, good lord, the Hat says as he walks up to the dead creature. He reaches down and picks up a coin-sized scale. Its metallic hue makes him whistle in appreciation. There's that kind of tingle in this. I think it's partially an axiom beast. Well, yay, duh. Square cube law. Without axiom, nothing that big can survive out of the water in this gravity, Dong remarks as he unshoulders an industrial-scale plasma cutter and considers where to begin. How the hell does a 13-story tall chrome T-Rex sneak through a forest? Mr. T asks as he peels the eyelids apart for Pukey to examine. The left eye is faded and scarred. This is one of our beasts. And as for how they sneak, they reflect the surrounding terrain. The parts close to the ground look like the ground. The higher-up parts look like tree trunks or the foliage. By the time you get close enough to see something's up, you're in sprinting range for the things, Pukey explains. Everyone on alert. We've got big movement near, north-northeast, Bike bellows out. On it! J3 and Tang call out nearly in sync, and there's a still moment. Then a rush of a gigantic refracting figure. 2 enormous blasts, and the world shakes as the titanic monster hits the ground, a massive hole in its chest with its heart and lungs reduced to a few semi-solid chunks and pulp. Kill confirmed. Area's safe again, Bike calls out in much more reasonable tones. That scared the crap out of me, Scaly exclaims, and there are some good-natured chuckles all around. So long as it's not literal, you're going to be just fine, kid. Don't you worry. Air Force assures him, and there's an affronted sound. Hey, guys, I think I spotted some plasma scoring on the creature's face, J3 calls out, and there's a pause. That would be way too convenient, Pukey protests. They could have been a mated pair. The bounty report does state that they were seen together a few times. Scaly pipes up. Which means there may be a nest, too, Pukey considers. All right, everyone, put some hustle in. If you're going to grab a trophy, now's the time. Dong, stop standing around and start cutting. A quick check confirms everything. The second beast is indeed the second bounty, and some fast research into their biology and a look under the hood proves more. Male and female, a mated pair of man-eating monsters. Dong's plasma cutter is rated for starship hulls, but still needs actual effort and work to get through the neck of the Carnexes. Both heads are wrapped up and some few claws are taken as trophies alongside with as much of the hide and scales as they can fit. All right, kid, what'd your research turn up? Where do these things like to nest? Pukey asks Scaly after they secure everything in the now overfull storage and rise up out of the canopy to leave the rest of the remains to the scavengers that had been keeping a respectful distance from them all. Near water. Apparently growing up they need a lot of it, so their nests are near a drinking source at all times. Scaly offers and Airfarce nods. Heading to the river, then. Bike, can that scanner of yours find the nest? Pukey requests. We're about to find out, although any details about it would be useful. Bike responds and Scaly begins a quick bit of furious research. The eggs have a similar outside to the adult scales. He reports and Bike nods. Excellent. Someone got one of those? A sample makes this even easier. Bike asks, and the hat provides him with what he needs. He slaps it onto a scanning pad and quickly adjusts the parameters of the device. We're going the wrong way. Also, it's on the other side, 2.5 kilometers down and a bit away from the edge. The scanner leads them unfailingly to the nest of the Carnexes. 5 eggs are there, and a beacon is left between them all. They'll turn that in as part of the bounty and damn near double the promised payday of 2 million credits per Carnex. So, are we taking the job at Vusha? Mustard asks mildly, as the local mayor who had placed the bounty outright faints at the sight of the severed heads of the targets. Yep, we need to get back with reasonable and rational people, even if they're pirates, Pukey notes wryly. What do you actually think of the galaxy at large that pirates seem to be more reasonable to you? Scaly asks, and there's some light chuckling around him. No, really, what do you think about all of us? There's an undercurrent of absurdity that defies both proper explanation and belief, which is why it keeps catching us off guard, Pukey says blandly. You say that, but it's pretty normal to me, Scaly remarks, and Pukey chuckles. Ah, kid, if only we could take you to Earth, you'd probably love it there. Not to mention Cyborg Snake Boy would make you a shoo-in for an international celebrity, Pukey remarks as he examines his own hard-light hand and mentally sighs. No going home ever, at least. No going home if he wants to remain as something other than a cripple. He doesn't even contemplate a healing coma despite its stated ability to regenerate limbs. He'd lose too much body mass to be effective in combat, his calluses would go the way of the dodo, and the sheer advantage of his cybernetic arm and eye were not to be ignored. Not to mention there was Cindy and their sort of adopted son, Slithern, who would not be able to follow into the null. Thank goodness I can't. The fact that so many eyes are flicking to me even now is too much, Scaly says from his place behind Pukey, using the other cyborg as a sort of shield from the slowly growing crowd getting a grin from the larger man. Apparently, the decapitated heads of the world's largest predator species was something of local interest. Go figure.